Hi and welcome to the Work It's Personal podcast with me, Rowan Hammond. Today I was joined by Michelle Zimany, HR Director at Sanofi, where she had some great points around balancing family, purpose and the opportunities of hybrid working. I especially liked the insights she provided around making some meetings and events face-to-face only and balancing that rather than all things virtual or face-to-face as well. I hope you enjoy and her candid nature from today's episode. How do the leaders sort of connect and across the globe? Because I would imagine it's not that easy.
We've really jumped, probably a decade from it when it comes to digital and working remotely. But the one thing that probably hasn't kept pace with that is for our global to remember that the world isn't flat. And we've got a number of time zones, not just one. And how do you run some of those big meetings and those important connections, across a number of different time zones, but also across regions that are very different. You've got emerging markets, mature markets, and different levels of English as a first language. So that is quite a challenge, and I don't think we've quite solved it. We tend to try and run things twice at different times. But I think for leaders it does come back to understanding the different channels that you have available, and being more flexible around what channels you might use, in order to get the information that you need. So I think people are much more readily happy to listen to a podcast, rather than attend something live, or a video. So it's really providing a number of different channels for people to access information in the way that they need it, in the time frame that they need. And I think that we're starting to get, a lot better at that. Whereas before it used to be all attend a town hall or attend, this Zoom meeting. Yep. They're really mixing it up, and I think that's starting to help. But again, we're still sort of learning as we're going on that.
And talking about learning, obviously we've gone through this COVID period, and your team has actually put in here at Sanofi in North Ryde at Macquarie Park. You've got a wonderful new facility. What were some of those lessons that you kind of learned, and how has leadership sort of played its part in the space that you've got today and what we see?
The lessons, we were very fortunate for starters that we were, moving to activity-based working. I think we were almost about to open or about to start the rebuild when COVID hit. So we didn't necessarily have to go through all the pain of getting people, used to working a little bit more from home, and in the office, because COVID practically did that for us. But the lessons that we learned was you really need your leaders to be actively playing a part in creating an environment in the office or back in the workplace where people want to come, and they need to be flexible around that's going to look different for different people in their team. So some have gone down the path of saying I want all my team in on this day, and quickly realise that's if everyone's going to be in and they're all just going to be on Zoom, then what's the point? So I think it is being a little bit more individual and having conversations and saying what is going to work for you, and what are the key moments that you're going to capitalise on when you are in here. So I think that's probably been the biggest. You can't just go one size fits all, but you do need to have conversations and find out what's working for each of your team members. And through that experimentation, the team tends to recalibrate and sort of understand what's going to work best for that team. So we do have people doing different things. I try and make 1 day a week, fairly fixed, which is a Tuesday for me, because I find that, and I also have there's no Zoom meetings. So if someone wants to speak to me on a Tuesday, it's got to be face-to-face. So maximise it, just frees up my time in the office. It means I can have those little coffee conversations or the water cooler conversations, and while I'm working, stop and chat to people, as well as have face-to-face meetings. But other days I'm in the office, then it kind of depends on what's going on. But that also means that my team know that if they want to catch me, I'm always going to be here on a Tuesday,
Yep.
and the other days float depending on. So that works for me. Other smaller teams have picked a day, once a fortnight they try and come in, and they do the similar thing. They try and make sure it's Zoom meeting free. So and we've tried to move from everything being hybrid. So we've got to plan every single event to be both face-to-face and hybrid, where we've tended to separate and say we're going to do some hybrid, but we're also going to do things that are only face-to-face. Because I think you get a different energy, and trying to be all things to all people, both virtual and in the office, means that you're kind of missing out on some of those connection pieces.
Do things by halves, potentially.
Yes, exactly. so that's just all learning. We sort of, we started off saying, yes, we need to cater for wherever someone's going to be, and then we've sort of said, well, actually, essentially missing out on some key elements of that face-to-face. So we've tended to sort of split them out a little bit.